Hello, my name is John Edel, and I'm with Global Internet News. We're on location this evening in Minnesota with visual effects creator John Hyers. And let's compare that a little bit to I was noticing the skeleton that's projected on, on the roof. To me, that also looks 3D, but it's projected in such a way that it's not using, the screening and that type of thing. Let's talk a little bit about comparing those two images and how that works.
We're actually using the shingles to project on. You're able to do that because they're very light in color. They're not quite white shingles, but they're light gray. So you can actually project a flat image on it. Even though they're sloping back at an angle, you can't pick that out. It's something to do with how the light expands with distance. It gets a little smaller as it moves its way up the shingles, higher up the roof, but at the same time it gets further away. And so the two seem to cancel each other out, and the end result is it does look like a three-dimensional skull right there on the roof surface. And it's just a matter of the illusion of that geometry that creates that.
Now, is that image, in terms of the projection distance for that external, the skull image there, is that projected from a longer or closer distance than, say, the ghoul here in the internal image?
It's a further distance, yeah. It's probably about 25 feet away, whereas the guy here, the ghoul here, he's only about 8 feet. It's projected from 8 feet behind the window.
Okay. And so in terms of getting back a little bit to the projection equipment again, is there any special adaptation that needs to be done to accommodate distance, or is that pretty much a stock type thing?
Oh, there can be, because all projectors have a different focus or a different zoom setting and how fast the beam expands to fill a certain given size image. So in some cases, a certain projector you may be lucky enough to get one that expands very quickly. And in that case, you just set it across the room and it can fill the rear screen. On others, some of the older projectors, a lot of them were designed for longer throws to reach a movie screen in front of a big hall. And so their beams are narrow. And so in order to make them expand to fill the window frame with the rear screen, you have to bounce them off of a mirror. Dressing room mirror that you can get, a cheap one you can get, and you simply set it against the wall at a slight angle. You aim the projection against it, and then it expands given the distance. So if it goes across the room, hits the mirror, comes back, it doubles in size after it hits the mirror. They're cheap enough. If you buy enough projectors, you may find you've got the perfect one to go on an effect like the roof, you've got a perfect one to go on the rear screen, and another one that's exactly the right size to sit at the top of your steps and hit the front door.
Let's talk a little bit about this character who just walked away from the front door, and there he is again. Sure. Let's talk a little bit about what your thoughts were when you were coming up with that idea.
Right. Well, the idea here was to have just a normal flat projection to go on a wall or on rear screen, which would give the illusion of a character inside a front door. And so in this case, you see he turns and he walks away and appears to be walking in the entryway and disappears. And so that illusion is simply created by the actor walking centered, absolutely perfectly straight towards the camera. So that when we project that on the rear screen, and the room light is off behind it, so you don't have a lot of light hitting the rear screen except from the projector, it simply creates the illusion of a character walking inside the building. And that's really as difficult as that effect is.
Okay. I was noticing too that the theme of a lot of what we're seeing in this particular display tonight has got kind of like a colonial type theme. Do you have multiple themes that you like to work with?
Well, the colonial happened for a number of purposes. We did a series of videos. Reason being, we get a lot of calls from people in Gettysburg, where there's lots of colonial type things happening. There's also, of course, the Civil War. But the East Coast, there's a lot of calls from East Coast haunts, and they want things that are colonial, so it seemed like a natural fit to just do a bunch of colonial themed things, including the skeleton guy here. He is also wearing a colonial outfit.
I'm curious, probably as many of our viewers are tonight, what do these effects look like inside the house? Specifically, can you do these effects with the projectors that we've discussed in such a way that you could project them, say, outside for like a Halloween party or an outdoor event type of a thing?
Yeah, these are designed so you can see them from the outside but enjoy them from the inside, because the rear screen we're using, even though it does transmit a lot of the light outside, you can still see the images on the inside. So you can be having a party going on and have, as you see in these various shots, you've got the images up on the rear screen that's built right into the windows or in the glass on the front door. Everybody in the party is going to see the same effects. So you can do them in both places. The big thing is that you got to watch not having a whole lot of extra light on. So if you're doing a candlelit Halloween party or a dimly lit spooky Halloween party, it's absolutely perfect. And then the multiple projectors being used, like in my own house, adds almost enough light to see by themselves.
We've moved closer to the home, and this particular image I found really interesting. Now we've got what appears to be a live snake projected onto, if I'm seeing it correctly, just a standard garage floor. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually a snake that's filmed on a standard garage floor, projected right back down. In all reality, it's a similar area to where we actually filmed the snake, but it's a white, fairly clean concrete floor. And what you're seeing, the magic of this particular image is, if you notice, you can't see the projector anywhere. The projector is hidden up on the ceiling on the inside. And it's coming down to us, and it kind of looks like a backlight source, kind of with a blue tint to it. And this is called virtual 3D, and this is what I call reverse virtual 3D, and that is where the image is flipped upside down, then projected from the back, which reverts the image so it's right side up.
Interesting. So now is the projector that's doing this particular image similar to the projectors we've talked about in the other segments?
This particular one is a little bit more expensive because it's very high resolution and it's also very bright. So the output brightness is 3,500 lumens, and it's a high definition compatible projector. It's playing back a normal DVD, but the increased quality and increased brightness allows for the image of the snake to look so realistic that people are actually freaked out by it because they think it's really there on the floor.
Yeah, we've had that reaction from a few people that have come by tonight, and I was noticing, one thing I was noticing too is the size of the snake. Is this pretty much a true-to-life size, or is that, part of the effect is the magnification of the size of the snake? Or?
No, this is actually life-size of the snake. It was around a 9-10 foot long snake when we filmed it.
So here we're seeing the snake just appear literally from nowhere, which I find really interesting. Let's talk a little bit of how that works in terms of when you shoot that and how you create that illusion.
We can't get the snake to crawl into the shot where we want it, so we had to literally have the handler place the snake in the center and somewhere near the center, and then we start filming, and that's the clip we use. But what this has ended up being is like a magical snake. So anybody that's into Harry Potter or that sort of thing, snakes are a big part of the whole Potter series. And so here is a magical snake that appears to morph out of nowhere and crawls across the floor. And so that's the byproduct of this, is it's a magical element using a morph feature of editing software to make it appear. And then it's simply the magic snake.
I'm noticing a little bit of shadowing now as we're watching the snake go across too. Is that part of with the lighting, how you lit the shot when you actually filmed it or created it?
Yes, the shadow, we always use shadows for virtual 3D because the shadow that you see under the creature really makes it look like it's there. And even though I filmed it myself and I know it's not there, I can't see a flat object. I still see a real snake, and so it really does work.
Now I'm noticing one thing with the image too. It's disappearing as it goes off of the main surface. So we're watching the snake literally disappear as it crawls off camera underneath the garbage cans. Was that something that you visualized when you designed this image, or was that kind of something that happened as you created it, or?
Because it was a real snake, eventually it's going to leave the picture area. And so to give the users of this some way to deal with the fact that it crawls out of the projected image, we found by putting a line of trash cans there that have large wheels and spaces underneath it to make a shadow. It looks like it's the shadow of the light in the room that's going down, and it's not illuminating the other side of the trash cans because they're in the darkness. And so that gives a place for the snake to disappear into. And it works quite well. You can use a bunch of cardboard boxes, you can use a variety of different things, but garbage cans work great.
I've heard the term virtual 3D. Is that something we're talking about here? And how would that compare to, like, say, what I would call a normal video image?
Okay, right. Well, virtual 3D I coined the term, so it's my own term. But what virtual 3D is, in my own mind and my own creation, is specifically video for horizontal surfaces. So it's video projection effects for horizontal surfaces, such as the snake, and also this grave ghoul that apparently crawls out of the hole in the ground, moves the gravestone out of the way, crawls out and across the ground. Virtual 3D is the impression of 3D on a flat surface. And so that could be a giant creature crawling on a full-size pond or lake, or on a field, or on a large cement floor area, or also on the ceiling. That out